We're back, people. All right. All of you guys loved the fire pit video that we put together, the tier ranking fire pits, where we went into extreme detail on the fire pits. And Dan has now gone out and found all of the data on game rooms, because that was the number one most requested things, was game rooms. And so, Dan, appreciate you. You got all set up. I'm super excited about this one because I'm a fanatic about game rooms. I have actually a lot of logic that we're going to get into in the way that I think about them. Super excited to share with all you guys, but we are going to tier rank game rooms. Dan, do you want to now share your criteria, the information, take us to this next step of the video?
Yeah, before I pull up the criteria, which you're right, we didn't do a criteria last time. And I feel like for the viewers, it's important for us to establish what is important in any amenity before we start, because we kind of worked it out, as we went. And as you and I chatted afterwards, we're like, we should probably lay it out what is important for a game room. I also love game rooms. I put a game room in my very first Airbnb ever that I did. And now looking back at this tier list, it was a very average game room. But they're one of the big three: hot tubs, fire pits, game rooms. The core of a short-term rental.
Fire pit, it doesn't have as many variables. A hot tub has almost no variables, right? Well, yes. It does, but it's a lot less. Whereas a game room has a ton of variables, right? A ton. And so before we start ranking these guys and kind of like just randomly putting them based off of what we know, we want to go through each one of the different pieces of criteria here and be able to better explain this. So, Dan, you want to walk through the first one and I'll just kind of give my 2 cents as we keep going?
Sure. Yeah. So equipment, I think, is the most critical. I think like having things like, obviously there's a tier list to the equipment that is good in a game room itself, but having things like pool table, foosball, arcades, diverse, high quality, well-maintained equipment. That's
okay. So when you say the most crucial thing is going to be the type of games that you have in the game room.
Right. The type, how good they are, how well-maintained they are, how diverse and high quality they look. We're deducting points if you only have like one thing.
If you're saying if you have a cheap pool table compared to a good-looking pool table, it's going to make a difference.
Correct. And if you just have a pool table or just have a ping pong table and no other machines, you're not getting as much score for the equipment. It's like if you went to an arcade and they had one thing there and you're like, I want to play more.
Yeah. Okay. Let's rip through these ones pretty quickly, because I think when we actually go into the photos and start ranking these as well, it'll be more easily able for people to understand. But Definitely. one thing I do want to say there is there's also a different level of ranking for the different types of equipment or games that you would have within that room. I think that a pool table is the most ultimate thing that you can have. I've had somebody debate me on this and think that a ping pong table was most ultimate, but we will definitely get into that.
So yes, we could make if you want to see a separate game room tier rank video on just the equipment, comment below. It's going to be the full package. And the full package is not just the equipment, it's the seating. I also want to sit places. And some game rooms are also kind of theater rooms. It's a complication.
Well, we've got another thing that we got to mention here. And I just want to explain this when it comes to seating. And I'm so happy you put this in here, because I don't think people understand the purpose of a game room. Okay. Yes, it is a place for kids to go do something, right? And maybe the adults are going to go in there as well. But you have to think about the experience that people are having while they're inside the Airbnb. You have to remember that you're creating an experience for these people, and how do you make it the most optimal experience, right? And let's say that you're in one of these homes that has a ski resort that's nearby. Well, the whole family is going to be skiing all day. And guess what? The parents are going to be exhausted. But guess who's not going to be exhausted? The kids, right? And the kids are going to want to keep playing, keep doing things, because they're kids. They have all that energy. But the parents are drained. They need a second to recoup, or maybe make dinner, or whatever it may be. And so the purpose of a game room is for a place for kids to escape for longer than 10 minutes. And so you've got to create a space where kids can be there for a long period of time. And if there's no seating, kids are going to get bored of standing, and they're going to be done with the game room and go bug the parents. And so then therefore seating is extraordinarily important to create an optimal game room that kids will actually be in for longer than 10 minutes.
And there's a couple types of seating for a game room, right? There's like the stools that go at the arcade cabinets, and there's like couches and theater room type seating. And I think both are important.
I think they're both important. We can get into those as well. Let's keep moving on to the next one.
The ambiance, right? Lighting, decor, everything down to like the paint on the walls.
Yes, color psychology. We will definitely be talking about that and how that plays into this role. Also, neon lights, what kind of vibe that creates for the room, what that means. We'll talk about that as well.
And the last specific one is the space, right? We need enough space so it's not crammed, so multiple people can use it, so it feels well laid out.
One of the examples I always give with this is that when we are trying, we have buy boxes all in a bunch of different markets, right? Like if we can find a home that meets every single last one of these criterias, we will buy that home. And one of the criteria, most of the time, is the fact that we need to have a second living room that is larger than just a pool table. So it needs to be a living room that can actually support a pool table and some additional things. That's like one buy box in one market. We need that. If we don't have that, we can't do it. And I don't think that people understand those little nuances of like, oh, it's got another living room, we'll make it a game room. And it's like, well, it's so small, you can't do jack shit with that. And your game room is going to be nothing in comparison to these other ones that you're trying to go up against. And then therefore you're not going to be able to perform as well. Right. So
correct.
Those things matter. And then overall experience is the last one you got there.
Right.
Pretty straightforward.
Right. So that's the whole part. So now let's dive into it.
Let's do this. Let's get into the tier ranking. This is what people are waiting for.
Right. So we're actually going to pull up the big version of these photos. So we're going to start because that was that's not the biggest. So we're going to start with this one. We talked about space. This is only a pool table and a living room, not a dedicated room for it.
And so the idea, just for everyone who doesn't know, Dan, if you can just go back to that tier ranking thing there for a minute. This is a thing that they do in video games. Dan, you explained this to me on the last video, and I appreciate that. But this is a big deal in the video game world, right? And so S tier stands for superior. Is that right? Special. All right. See, maybe I don't know. And then obviously A, B, C, D is pretty obvious, right? As you go through this. And the idea is that Dan can grab one of these images at the bottom. Dan, if you want to grab one of those images, and you can drag it wherever he wants. And so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to say, hey, this pool table room or this game room, where do we think it ranks? Do we think it is like superior or special and it's really, really good? Or is it like D, average, no good, crap, whatever, right? Like we shouldn't do this whatsoever. So that's really what we're trying to do here. And Dan has every single one of these, little images at the bottom that you can see there opened up at the top. And we're going to go to the very first one. So Dan, do you want to open up that first one?
And maybe before we actually do that, let me just say the most important thing and what we're all about is the data. So it's not just about what makes a better game room, it's does it make more money? So if you stay till the end of this video, I will show you all of my data breakdown over average revenue by type of game room.
Yes, so everything is about data, but you will see how close the data and how well the game room was put together come together, right? Revenue and how well they're actually putting together. All right, let's do this.
All right, let's jump into it.
As you can tell, I'm super excited to get into this. So initial thoughts on this one is a couple things. Like first off, the whole place is kind of got this like old rich vibe to it. You know what I mean? Yes. Like old person rich vibe sort of scenario in the way that it's put together. And we got obviously a big old home here. All of these homes are in Nashville, by the way, that we're going to be looking at.
5 bedrooms in Nashville.
All 5 bedrooms in Nashville. Yeah, so we're trying to keep that consistent. And this is the only photo.
This is it. That's all I got.
So a couple things. One is if these people are trying to hyper focus on a sort of older demographic, right? Like maybe they're looking for like an just a family, but it's really like an older, more mature family. Maybe this will make sense, right? Because it everything kind of in the home kind of hits that demographic. But I can't imagine that these people are only renting to older couples, right? It's a big old 5-bedroom house. There's going to be definitely kids in this house, and if there's not kids, there's going to be large groups of like bachelor parties. It almost looks like this. Like what is it, like 10 40-year-old males renting this out? Like that's what I'm seeing when I'm seeing this, right? So I don't know, what are your 2 cents?
My 2 cents is that one of our criteria is diverse and enough equipment, and all we have is a pool table. You and I know that a pool table is S tier in a game room, but only a pool table in a game room is not an S tier game room. So correct. To me, this is like kind of a B.
Well, the thing is that it's the reason I'm not saying too many negative things about it is because at least they still have a pool table.
And it's a luxury pool table.
Right. And it's kind of mixed in with everything, right? So you can play this while some people are hanging out at the dining table. Maybe somebody's cooking and it's in their environment. And I do see this as being like for an older group, a really great setup, but it's not going to be great for kids whatsoever. No way is this S tier. No way is this A tier whatsoever, right? But at least they put a pool table here and not a ping pong table. Because imagine if this was a ping pong table or a foosball table just
in the living room.
All right, we'll give it a B because it's not great, it's not terrible, right dead in the middle.
It's in the middle.
All right, let's
go to the next one. We got I lost the game room.
That's right. You'll find it. Oh boy.
So we got this. Sometimes it's hard with one photo. This is why I pulled the listing up for us.
Yeah.
The game room is actually like this game room has another room with it. So it's got like kind of a basement theater room-esque with this.
Okay. So I don't even feel like you can call this a game room, right?
It's definitely a game room. Come on.
I guess
Come on.
I guess.
What else is it?
I don't know. Very boring game room is what it is. So, I mean, okay. First thing that I'm gonna call it right now is that you have white walls through the entire thing, and this is a kid's game room.
Bland.
But they have like a bar set up on the side. So is the bar for kids to put their drinks? Like I'm
Can
not
you
really
even put a
understanding
drink
that.
up here with this railing? Like,
I mean, what else could it possibly be, right? I don't.
yeah,
It looks like
are
the
your
railing
kids
goes
like
off the back.
alcoholics? Is that what it is?
They're- when like or they're going to be adults sitting here playing foosball for a couple of hours, right? Like, so this is, I don't know, at least they did this, is kind of my initial thought. Like, they do have this empty space and they filled it with something. Like, they have seating, they
Yeah.
do have some sort of side table you actually can put drinks. They have an arcade game, which is not bad, and they have foosball. So obviously they can only put foosball in here because the room is too small to actually put the pool table, which is one of the things I mentioned earlier in this call, right?
Mhm.
I don't know. This is, I'm very unexcited. What
I
could
don't
you
like
do?
foosball. I think foosball's okay
Really?
to play. This looks like a cheaper foosball. We only got one arcade cabinet. We're bland, so we have like
Yeah.
minimal equipment. We have minimal decor, minimal
Right.
seating, but it's at least, it's not like a D. It's like a C or a B.
What could you do differently is my initial thought here. Like,
I mean, we're gonna show you. We're gonna get to some S tier
Yeah.
ones, and I don't want to ruin what.
true,
like,
I guess, right? I
that's
do
what
want
I'm
to
seeing.
see.
But like basically, if we painted the walls, if we had any neon signs, if we didn't use a foosball and we used a pool table in here,
But they don't have room for it, so they couldn't even if they wanted to. So that's they kind of pigeonholed themselves. I have some ideas of like what you could do, but we'll keep going. Maybe we come back to this one. I'm putting this as a C tier because it's not a D. Well, I don't know. What about you? You thinking C as well?
yeah, I think we're on like CB. I think there's an argument that they're low B, high C, but I'm okay with leaving it in C.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
So we did this one. We did this one. We're on this one right now.
Don't. Oh, you close them, eh? We might come back to them, so leave those ones open just in case.
All
This
right,
is a D.
we'll
Do we
open
even...
them back up for you, and
All
we'll
right,
go
all
back.
right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we got a ping pong table.
Yeah,
with
it's a D.
colored walls.
That's a D all day.
They also have this part of their basement. I don't know if you consider that part of the game room.
No, definitely not. That's just like a second living room. What do you think about this?
This is pretty bad. This is about as minimal. We got one piece of equipment. It's only ping pong. You and I are shitting on ping pong versus pool. It's cheap. It's cheap.
It's also what bad photo. It's not centered. Now, mind you, it can't be centered. Vertical photo. There's also like a walkway, so they technically have to keep it that way. I can see that they tried to do something with like the blue walls and the stripe, and they have the paddles. You can like have a little spot up there, but I mean, it's still a D regardless. It's still a D, right? Like there's so many more things I could have done. We don't really need to go too deep on that one. I think everyone can see what we're talking about there.
I have a cool one next, and not this one. This one. This is probably one of my favorites.
Ooh, okay. So initial callouts is that oh yeah, keep going. We got more photos.
Probably the best photo angle of it they have is this one, probably.
Of the shuffleboard? Oh, okay, this one. Sorry.
The whole room itself, yeah.
I mean, so this is where understanding your guest demographic really comes into play, right? Because if your guest demographic is kids, this is not an S tier. If your guest demographic is bachelor parties, this is an S tier.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're hyper focused on large groups of men coming to this place, which this has got to be focused on that because they literally have like every single last thing in here is focused around a male audience. Even the fact that they have a black pool table, right? The pool table top is black rather than red or green or something like that.
Right.
I love that they put the shuffleboard in on the back end there because shuffleboards are these beautiful games where you can actually fit them in smaller spaces, right? You can fit them in behind couches. Like they don't take up a ton of space.
Yes.
But not a lot of people add them in there. I love the neon lights on both walls, like behind the TV and also on the
is this two TVs? Like what is this?
Oh, that's four. That's four TVs. You line them all up. And then you can either watch. Yeah, so this is something that we've done as well where you get 4 different TVs, might even be 6, but I think it's 4. And the idea is that you can watch the 4 different football games together or whatever else is going on.
You should have had the TVs on. It's the only mistake I can see in this whole thing.
That's actually a good point. That is a good
Or
point. But
Photoshop like games onto them or something.
yeah, I also love that they use brown leather in here because, like, again, I'm seeing this as if I were to be here with my buddies. I'm like, brown leather is sort of like that typical guy sort of furniture, right? And then but I also love that they have two different couches. So can you actually go back to see the brown couch on the left hand side? That one I'm really liking because yeah, that one there is that if that's the best shot. I'm loving that one because that's where you're sitting in between playing pool,
Yes.
right? Whereas, people would probably just give them the other options. Like they already have couches and what over there, but like those are for people who are sitting down watching TV. This one is for the one when people are playing pool in between turns. If you play pool for hours, you got to sit down. Anyways, I just said
Between shots, yeah.
between shots. You need to say, yeah, you want to relax in between, especially if you're playing with partners, right? Where it's like 2-on-2. What are your thoughts? I just said a ridiculous amount there. What are your thoughts?
These are the two of the top tier equipment, right? The equipment top tier. Pool table is number one. I put a shuffleboard table because I couldn't put a pool table in my first Airbnb. It's one of the most fun things. These are two of the games you can play for hours and hours and hours and have tons of fun. And they don't really break down like arcade cabinets, these cheap arcade cabinets that you buy from like Walmart. Man, they just are made of crap. And they look great in photos, but these are durable. We have like neon, we have painted walls, we have lots of couches, we have kind of like a theater room and a fireplace in here. This is S tier.
And I also love that couch over there is another sleeping spot without it looking tacky, weird, or uncomfortable. And the thing too is like a foosball game will break after a while, right? You lose the ball, the arms start coming off. Like me and my roommate, we had a foosball table in our apartment, and we got extremely competitive with it. Like we started playing like crazy, and we broke that thing like you wouldn't believe. Like
same
just
with the
ripping
arcade
it apart.
cabinets. That's what people don't understand is a lot of crap is going to break in your game room,
Right.
but not really a pool table or a shuffleboard. Although shuffleboard table does get scruffs in it.
Yeah, but a shuffleboard is going to last a lot longer, and you can have drinks. Right, you can have a drink while playing shuffleboard. It's kind of like a very casual game to have a drink, have conversations. Instead of a foosball, you've got to have like one, you have to know what you're doing. You kind of have to have like a feel for it. You can't have a drink in your hand while you're doing it. It's not a very conversational thing. Shuffleboard for a bachelor pad, that is the way to go, without a doubt.
Shuffleboard is also kid friendly because you don't need to know. Pool requires some skill. Shuffleboard doesn't. Just throw it down.
True. Just throw it down. Just do your best to throw it down there. Pool is a lot easier to pick up in comparison to ping pong, though, right? I love this, man. I've never seen this one before.
So
I genuinely.
This was one of my favorite. I'm gonna call this an S tier. Obviously, there's things they could do better, but it's amazing.
We're gonna come back to that because I actually don't know. Anyways, we'll talk about that. Keep it as an S tier. I love that one. Let's move on from here.
Okay, next we are on to another ping pong room. So this is their garage. No colored walls, ping pong. We saw another one just like this. But this is worse.
This is worse. So here's why it's worse. This is definitely in a garage. And if you look around, you don't see any temperature control in this garage. This one's not a garage. So
what is it then?
I don't know. It did have like cinder blocks in the back, and maybe it was like a basement.
Garage.
No, wait. Is this a basement? Is this a basement room? No, this is a garage. This is a garage. You can see the at the very top of the photo, right dead in the middle.
Yeah,
you can kind of see
garage door openers right here.
Yeah. Whereas the other one that we looked at that was just ping pong. Anyways, why are we spending so much time? Yeah, that one's back room.
This is bad.
I don't know.
This is a bad one.
It's bad. It's a D. It's D. I love that they put the beer and the pink popcorn there, though. I do actually love that.
All right, D plus.
It's almost. I'm looking at it. I'm like, these guys kind of got it, but like just at the same time, blatantly didn't put anything else into it. This is one of those ones where I'm wondering, like, maybe they just didn't have the budget to be able to go all out. And like that is a scenario that definitely exists.
Yeah.
I just like how clean the photo is, and I like that they added the beer and the popcorn, and even the way that the paddle boards are showing that off. It feels clean, whereas the other one did not. I want to give it an S tier for that reason. Or sorry, an S tier. New. I want to give it a C tier, but because it doesn't feel as much of a D, but I don't know. It's clean. I'll give them that.
Yeah, C minus, D plus. The other one gets like a D minus.
Yeah, right. Like,
what could this one do better to get a C or a B?
Are we talking on a budget? Because it feels like we want to be
unlimited budget.
Well, I mean, we'll get to that at the very end of like what to do with an
Yeah.
unlimited budget. But this right here, I think they did the best with what they had, right? I
Yeah.
mean, maybe they could have.
This was
I don't know if they
$400.
right. Maybe did they paint the walls? Probably not. I think they could have thrown a neon light in there.
Looks a little dirty. The walls are a little
Yeah, it
dirty.
does. It does. Right.
Kind of making me feel a little grimy. The stuff
Yeah.
down here, it's
Like a
this up
photo.
here.
Sure, it's a garage, but a photo is not that expensive, right? Like you can get something for like $20, $30 and it's very colorful or whatever it may be, and it's tacky or whatever, but at least it changes the wall color in here. It gets me a
Yeah.
little bit more excited. And like that's the tiniest little thing that you can do to just make it a little bit better.
$1,000, I would paint all the walls black, and I would remove this fridge, and I'd put either like a bar or a couple arcade cabinets against the wall or
So
something.
here's the problem.
Some stools.
Here's the problem with investing that much. We're like, this is definitely a garage, and so then what is the temperature of this in the middle of the winter? Is anybody going to be using it? Is it worth that much of an investment? But that's like we can have that whole other conversation another day. Let's just focus in on these game rooms at a minimum. All right, we're gonna
let's go to this next one. This next one has this cool theater room that leads into the other half of it. Has ping pong. This is their basement, right? The ping pong, and then we have arcade cabinets, Pop-A-Shot, and we have like a cheap little skee ball set.
Okay, so I know what I want to say, but I feel like I've gotten to go on a rant the first time for almost every one of these. So I want to hear what your thoughts are.
I mean, it's not bad, I mean, especially if you combine it with the fact that obviously this is a lot of money and expensive to put all these nice chairs in here. And I feel like they blew all their money on the theater room, and then they got here and they're like, all right, whatever. Here's like $1,000 worth of stuff. And it's not bad, but it's not great.
So, okay, so the biggest mistake here is the walls and the photos. So those are the two biggest, like
the ambiance and the market.
The ambiance, exactly. Like the sort of it's all gray. I love that you have the games. I love that you put it together in the way you put it together. I absolutely love that movie theater back there, right? The fact that they use those chairs make it feel like a movie theater, like that is awesome.
The elevated step up.
Yeah, like so that the one is above the other so they can see. I do love all of those things. It's almost like these people we're like, okay, what are the best things that you need to have in a game room? Okay, you need a movie theater, you need a Pop-A-Shot, you need an arcade, and you need ping pong. And they're like, okay, we got the list. And then they just put it all in there. But they didn't know how to bring it together to create the ambiance. That was one of your checklist things, right? If you can go back to your checklist, was ambiance?
Yes.
Is that right?
Lighting and decor conducive to a fun environment.
Exactly. So this is the part that they're missing. Right.
I don't get good vibes. You just have boring lights. You have boring walls. Like we're missing painting everything black. We're missing probably a pool table in the middle of this, but they do have 4 pieces of equipment, and I will give them credit because that's the most we've seen so far. We've seen a lot of just ping pongs.
This one's
we got 3 more.
This one beats all the other ones, but they're missing ambiance, and also
it doesn't beat the sweet one that we saw. It doesn't beat this one.
No, not at all. That one's. Well, I could keep going on that one.
We got more. We're gonna go on more. So I'm gonna give this kind of like an A.
I'll give it an A as well.
Theater room or not?
I'll give it an A as well. I'm kind of wanting giving it a B, to be honest, just because the photos. But at the same time, let's give it an A. Okay. It's a B plus is what it is, right? The reason I don't want to
this video, we have way less rank. We had way too many fire pits last time, so we only have total ones this time.
All right, we got 2 more to go. Let's keep going.
So here, not an amazing listing or property, but they have a sweet treehouse, and their game room, they don't have great photos of it. This is probably the best photo they have. This is the second best. This is the third best. So we have air hockey, foosball, an arcade cabinet, and a lot of games. Actually, it's the first time we've actually seen games in a game room.
If you remove that neon light, this whole thing is right down to like a C or a D, right? The neon light is kind of bringing it up, making it a little bit more exciting, but the photos are
vertical. You're killing me with vertical photos. Why?
Yeah, it's a small space. I just I like that they have these things in here, but at the same time, this
is a really small, kind of cheap air hockey table. This is not like a large.
It's a small room, right? It's a small room, so they have no choice on that. But no seat around that arcade game.
Ambiance is kind of poor.
No carpet.
Seating is poor.
No carpet. no, the additional walls look like the rest of the house, right?
This is a hard one.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as silly as it sounds, it almost feels the same as the last one. But I would put this
Yeah,
closer to a B.
it's like an A minus.
I
And if
wouldn't
they
even give
had
it
no neon lights, it's like
no.
an easy B, or it could even be a C.
I would, if without this neon sign, C easily, right? With their like, but at the same time, what else are they going to do with that room? In a sense, it's so small,
Yeah.
right? So okay, let's think about it this way for a second, because there's probably people thinking this right now. They have such a small room. What in the hell else could they possibly do there to make it better, right? Because it's like they're trying their best in this small little space. You know what? Maybe we leave that to the end. If we really want to get into like how do you improve this, we can talk about that without
Yep.
giving things away just yet. All right. So let's go to the next one.
We're on our last one, actually. So we have one S, one A, two Bs, a C, and two Ds. And now we have one of my favorite Airbnbs I've ever seen, and my favorite game room I've definitely ever seen in my life.
Okay, this is what we're talking about. So you have teased me with this one a little bit, but now I'm gonna really I haven't in depth looked at it. By the way,
let's
guys,
list out the equipment first. We got
yes,
an amazing. What is this one called? Skee ball.
skee ball, yeah,
poker, an actual high quality air hockey.
yep.
We have these two tabletop. We have the coffee table foosball machine, which is super efficient. I know you guys have done that. And now we have the tabletop arcade game. And we have like a
table. Okay, that threw me off for a second. The red thing there is a foosball table.
Red thing with a foosball.
And a table. Okay, so obviously, so this is also in a garage.
Yes.
Is it temperature controlled? Can you see? So they have
a
a fan there.
We got a fan right here.
Right, but is there
I don't see any mini splits or anything.
no mini splits, eh? And
No.
then how big is the couch?
Couch is a little L, 3-person L.
Well, 3-person.
We have some other seating around the poker table too.
Yeah, that's different though. But like, they got the cornhole back there as well. They do have a mini split right above the shuffleboard.
There you go. How we missed that right here? So this is amazing.
Cool. So I'm just gonna call out the one thing that I'm actually loving the most about this is the neon signs that are games.
Yes,
they're like a remote control, right? Like how spot on is that, right? And it's vibrant colors that kids are gonna love. Like this to a kid, that's the thing that people are always missing. And I kind of alluded to it earlier.
Yes,
you're creating a space for kids. Now, mind you, there was the bachelor party game room that's really well done, but majority of the time it's going to be kids that you're creating a game room for, and you need to create it in a way that is going to be pulling them in. And this is where color psychology comes into play, and these bright neon colors to a kid is so exciting. And I feel like I got a kid in my heart, to be honest. And so when I see these things, I am extremely excited as well. Like it gets me jazzed up. I'm like,
look how vibrant this looks. We have neon green, we have red, we have neon orange, light blue, pink.
Yeah, all over the
place.
Black
everywhere.
And obviously this photo is edited so that they pop, but like this is how it feels when you're in there, right? They got the green down there.
We have disco balls. We have shiny thingies. We have whatever this blue thingy is and this cube thingy is.
They're more seating that you can just have in there to make it even better. They got 2 games over there. They have the TV set up. Do they have like a Nintendo Switch or anything? Look on the table underneath the TV. They have a flower plant that is lights coming out of it. Beautiful. And some other little things down there have lights coming off of it as well.
Pac-Man dudes.
Guys, this is the stuff.
Take notes. If you're watching this video, just start taking notes. Like, what are the things that this person has? Black walls, 2 arcade cabinets, tabletop arcade. They got pool. They got everything.
Let's point a couple things out here though. Leave it on this photo because I'm loving this. Let's point a couple things out. There was that other one with the movie theater that we looked at, right? And what I was kind of saying when we were looking at that one is that it was almost like they got a list of the things that they need to add to a game room and they just put it into a basement. Whereas this place here understood ambiance and they also understood flow. Okay.
Yes.
So in other words, what I mean by that is the neon lights, the black walls, the way that they took these photos, the way that they edited these photos gets you really, really excited. Right.
There's more, actually. There's even more to this.
So on top of that, the flow of this entire room, jeez.
I know.
They didn't miss, eh?
No. I think there's another side too. No, that's not.
So just to point some things out here, This actually hits two demographics. So it's going to hit the kids, but it's also going to hit the adults.
Yeah,
And
because
I
they got
love that.
poker.
But they also have the bar on the side there, the
Yes.
cocktail mixer, things like that. So they didn't just do the poker table; they actually hit two different things, which I love that. And they went with the neon lights on the air hockey table on top of that as well to bring that in there too. They didn't miss. I
This
even
is
love
S
that
plus. This is
yeah.
I graded this using the criteria that we had in my computer vision model. I graded this automatically as a 9.8 out of 10.
So here's if we were going to nitpick, this is where I think they made a mistake.
Okay.
No pool table.
I know.
Right? You guys got to understand. When you're playing pool, you can play quite literally for hours.
Yeah.
And this is where I think it's an easy fix. They get rid of the air hockey and then move the poker table closer to the front door. And then put a pool table in between these two. Now, maybe there's enough room, maybe there isn't enough room, but if there isn't enough room, then like maybe move the skee ball.
You almost might need to remove two things though to get a pool table in here because this needs to come away from the wall. And so, like, is it worth subtracting an air hockey table and a poker table for a pool table? I think we're kind of getting into like
probably not
samesies
like,
almost.
This almost feels like an arcade in the sense, right? And you wouldn't really have a pool table in an arcade.
No, yeah,
right, yeah. But I wonder if you can move the skee ball closer to the TV and the couch, so you're now kind of like.
I want to point out another attention to detail thing that I see people make a mistake all the time. If you have a neon light up on a wall and it has a wire coming off of it, and that wire is just hanging there, or if it's a TV wire, it looks terrible. They also added the wire hiders, so it just looks perfect.
You know what's actually interesting about this is that a lot of the Airbnb game rooms that I love, like, because this is your favorite one, but a lot of the ones that I love have murals and a lot of paint and a lot of color, and they kind of like they pop because of those colors. So like the one thing that I would say that I don't like about this one is that it actually doesn't have a ton of color on the walls. It's just black, but at the same time, it does have a lot of color, right? And it's actually more cost effective to do it this way in comparison to doing it the other way. Now here you can just paint it all black, add up a bunch of signs. That's without a doubt going to be cheaper than hiring a muralist to get in there.
That
right?
Muralist is going to be $5K. That's the cost of everything you're seeing in this picture.
Right. Yeah.
This is 400, 400, 300, 400, 300, 300, 400.
Can you go?
It's $2,500.
Can you go to the Jenga just for a second? Can you find that Jenga? I just want to point out, guys, the level of details that these people are going into.
Yeah.
And this is like the difference, right? It's a glow in the dark or a light up.
Can we just go back? Can we just go back to like this one now and be like, understand what we're talking about when we say this is just so boring.
So this is why we were saying like, yeah, it's not. Okay, so what would you do here, right? That's why when we looked at this, guys, we were kind of putting it down, even though I kind of feel bad because you can tell this person definitely put effort into this. But when you see those other ones and then you see this, you understand why people pay way more for that one.
There's levels to this, right?
Yeah.
There's a tier list to all of this.
So let's go to the data and then we can go back to those game rooms and talk about what they could be doing differently at a cost-effective rate.
Okay, so let's go through the data. So I, just like last time, I pre-ranked all these and I actually scored them out of 10, converted that into a tier list, and then I pivoted the data for average revenue. And let me just like couch this in saying this is a way smaller sample size than last time. Last time I had like 35 fire pits. This is like 12 game rooms.
Right.
So we only have like 1 or 2 or 3 in each category. So we can see S and A are both worth about 150 to 160. B and C are both worth about 105. And F, which is not having a game room, on average, they earn about 72,000.
What a difference, eh?
It's interesting to plot. We're going to plot revenue against the 0 to 10 score, which is kind of converting the tier list. And we can see that there's a clear correlation. And let's emphasize again what we said last time. A game room isn't everything. How you do one thing is how you do everything. The quality of your game room is likely similar to the quality of your house and the quality of your fire pit. So this isn't just the game room driving revenue, but it's pretty clear that if you have a crap game room, you're not going to make very much because the rest of your house isn't going to be up to par as well.
So for anyone who doesn't have experience with looking at these charts, because I still get confused with these charts, you're looking at it and you're like, what am I looking at here, right? What you're looking at is that Dan has ranked the game rooms. That's the left-hand side there. He's ranked them. And then on the bottom, it's the amount of revenue that they're making. And it's very clear that as the game rooms are better, they make more money. which
Yeah,
is why you can
as your
see,
number increases, your quality score increases, so does your revenue.
right.
There's a linear
It's
relationship between the two.
clear as day, right? Which at this point I feel like is getting pretty obvious for anyone who's watching our videos on a regular basis. But if you're new here, if you really put the effort into this listing and you make it great and you add a ton of value to it, you will make more money. It is just a night and day. Clearly, that's how these things work. So let's go back to the other ones. I want to touch a little bit on the other ones that we did look at and say, like, how can we potentially make these a little bit better?
Let's just go through from the beginning.
I don't even, honestly, this one needs like I don't even know what you could do differently about
This
this
isn't
one.
even a game room. It's like a pool table in a living room. So
Right. I don't even know what to say. You would have to change up the whole style of the house if you really want to change it. But like,
throw it all out.
Yeah, I feel like they're trying to hit a certain demographic, but obviously we know that this one is not doing better than the S and A tiers, and so then therefore they probably
There's only so much you can do without ruining the vibe of the house. You can't make just this one middle area look like that.
Right.
It's just not gonna.
No, it'd be ridiculous, right? It hits their demographic well, but their demographic is not paying as much as the other ones. So then, therefore, if they did want to drive more revenue, they would change up their entire style through the whole house. But that's obviously going to be a whack load of money.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one. So I had some idea. I was thinking about this one as we were going through it. So the back wall there, you could add like 3 or 4 different of those games, right?
There's also half versions of these that get mounted on the wall that save you more space. That's what they should have done.
So you could have done that as well. Then on the right-hand side, you throw up a shuffleboard, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't need to be behind it. And you can also get smaller shuffleboards if you really wanted to.
Yeah, there's 6 foot, 9 foot, 12 foot.
Yeah, and then you can take the foosball and move it a little bit to the left. You throw in a neon light. Maybe you add in some like decor that gives it some more color. You probably wouldn't paint this room just because this room folds into the back room. But you could just create this like den almost of games, right? And then maybe you can throw in like the seating parts where it's going to get hard, but I don't think you need to add in seating for this because there's quite literally seating like a step behind this foosball table. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think about bumper pool instead of normal pool?
I mean, that's smaller pool, but you still have the pool sticks and there's not going to be room. I also think it's not as common of a game for people to know about, so it'd be harder. Like, if anything, I would say like a mini air hockey table on the left-hand side, because then you could put it flush with the wall.
Yeah.
And then you have the shuffleboard on the right-hand side flush with the wall. Then you got a wall of arcades off the back. And then you got neon lights on both sides of the other wall now.
But this is just a challenging space because their space is crammed. And it's going to feel crammed if we put too much in. They're definitely like low on ambiance. They're low on seating. And they're low on this. So there's definitely upgrades they could make. Especially to ambiance and equipment is probably where they're lacking, but they're just space constrained.
They are space constrained, which is why you always got to be aware of that before you actually go and purchase a home in the first place, of like, how big is this space? And like, so like, look at the second living room, measure it out, and then measure out how much space you need for a pool table.
I think they should have just made this the game room. I think they should have just like throw the couch out and the TV out and make the whole thing a game room. I hate the half theater room. I hate when it's like not a real theater room. It's like a second living room. Second living rooms do absolutely nothing for you.
No, okay, so this is the second living room. Like they have
they have like an upstairs living room.
Yes, all right. So
this is their living room one. Why do we need another couch downstairs? It's just pointless.
I actually get mad at. I used to get actually mad at TechFester when they would put together. They would have 2 seating areas. I go, what in the world are we doing? Because we were wasting space. I get so frustrated. They could have made that little backspace its own like video game area.
This could be a pool table in this area.
Well, here you could have a pool table. You could have a shuffleboard. You could have something up along where the TV is, maybe a little couch seating there. And then in the back area, you could put a TV with video games and a small little couch and more things going on. And then you make this entire space a fun, good colors, good neon lights, whatever you got to do to kind of bring it all to life.
We don't need just that back room to be the game room. We needed you to use the whole basement to be the game room.
That's the move here, without a doubt. And anyone who disagrees and goes, no, you want space for the kids and space up theirs, you kids are going to spend way more time playing the games than they are going to be sitting there watching TV.
You're going to have a second TV living room. It needs to be a full-on theater room.
I agree with that. It's so much more fun. The only reason
to have another like viewing space.
Yeah, it's so much more fun. Right, you're on vacation. Give an experience that's outside of the norm.
It feels like my living room. It feels boring. Yeah, like, I don't want to go rent a house that has my living room in it because that's where I live. It's got to be different, interesting.
Exactly.
Fun.
That's why neon lights are fine. That's why neon lights like add an experience, and walls painted funky colors are fine. You're only there for 3 days. Give your kids an experience. They're going to be fun. This one,
What should we do here?
a lot. So paint up the walls. I don't think there's enough room for pool here. So
No,
it's the same formula. Like, we don't really need to go through each one of these because it quite literally is the same formula.
It's only one piece of equipment. They should have had multiple. We should have a shuffleboard table. We should have had arcade cabinets, not just one ping pong table.
Agreed. And guys, keep in mind that you have try to play ping pong without knowing how to play ping pong. It's not enjoyable, right? Even a little bit. Yeah, you're like, have you ever watched somebody who's tried to play ping pong for the first time and they have no idea what they're doing? Have you ever watched someone who maybe knew how to play ping pong and then tries to play it again after not playing for a long time?
Yeah.
It's a skill. Like, don't put a game in there that somebody has to have a skill. I mean, that's why pickleball is like the number one going sport, because people you can pick it up so quickly. And now I'm sure people are going, well, if you pick up pickleball, you can pick up ping pong. And like, sure, but you can pick
look
up
cooler playing
shuffleboard.
Pickleball than you do playing ping pong.
Yeah, true. But you can pick up shuffleboard and you can pick up air hockey a lot quicker than you can pick up ping pong. And it's more, you don't have to have that skill set, and therefore more people can enjoy it together, right? So that's all I'm trying to get across here. What did you think you could do here?
In this one, I just want to see the TVs be on. And actually, I think not painting the ceiling was a missed opportunity. The white, the juxtaposition of the white with the black, with the wood, with the purples, and I think it's just a little too many colors. And maybe I'm biased on this, but I just really like when you black out the whole place, including the ceiling.
You're definitely biased on that because you mentioned it a couple of times.
I'm so biased.
I actually am not I'm not a fan of navy blue and black. I for whatever reason in my mind, they just like don't go really well together.
Navy blue, you're right, not black.
Yeah, it's navy
like
blue.
Keeping it navy blue across the whole thing or something.
Yeah, navy blue.
It's hard to critique this though.
I know. I don't even want to. Like it's obviously for males, and I think they did a great job for males. This is all males need. You throw 10 guys down here, they're having a great time. 10 guys, a bunch of beer, and they're having a good time. So, yeah, we can leave this one at that. I think we're good here, man.
Let's just sum it up for people.
Yeah, this has been this is fun. This is how much detail we go into, and I feel like we're just the tip of the iceberg on this one right now, because there are so many more things we could go into with game rooms. We didn't even touch on places that have murals, or like how to really cram things in there as well, but still be cohesive and have a nice flow to it. Guys, study those game rooms, really research it, and then figure out ways to be cost effective with it. Again, if you have an entire room and all you have to do is just buy some big ugly photo that has a bunch of color in it that kids are going to love, and you can throw it up on the wall, that's going to make the game room feel even better, even if you just have a little bit in there. And that could be under $100 you can do that for. So that's all I want to say to kind of end it off. Dan, do you have any advice to end this off?
Yeah, my last thing is that like the best game rooms have a bigger budget, and you can't get around it if you don't have you need a plan for the amenity budget, and we tell that to all of our clients. And you should probably, if you want a game room that looks like the S tier game rooms, $7,000 to $10,000, at least $5,000 minimum.
Yeah, that's why.
Probably what you're gonna spend.
A little shameless plug before we end. We find people properties. That's what we do. If you want us to find you a property, you can hire us. However, you need to have at least $150,000 to be able to work with us. That's liquid cash that goes towards the down payment, the closing costs, the renovation, the furniture, the design, and all of those things. And the reason we say that, and the reason I don't like to work with anyone that has less than that, is because it's so hard to win if you don't do these things nowadays.
You look like the ping pong people if you have less money.
I could tell you to buy a property all day. I could tell you to buy any property, but I don't want to do that. I want you to buy a property that's going to cash flow extremely well and be able to make it through the next looming recession that we are going to get, which means you have to have a property that's within that top 10 percentile. And to be able to do that, you need money to be able to put together a game room that's going to cost you somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000 across certain markets. And so that's why we're so intense about these different little things, and why we have a requirement for people that we'll work with, because I don't want anyone to lose their money. And I don't want you guys to lose your money either. So invest into these things if the game room is a main amenity in your market that you have to focus in on. All right. Link is down below if you want to talk to anyone on the team. Dan, I appreciate you putting this together, man.
And if you want to see more of these, comment. Tell us what you want to see. That drives our decision making. What the
also
people
like this. I mean, that helps as well. Give it a quick little like, guys. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. Talk to you later.
Take care.